Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Too Big to Fit. I am going to be talking a little bit about masking today in a different sense, so stay tuned.
I'm Mackenzie Morris, and after 15 years of building brands, scaling businesses, and creating empires across industries, I have learned that it is not only okay to be uncontainable, it's actually a superpower built within the multi-passionate, the visionaries, and the big dreamers. This is the first multi-dimensional business podcast that mixes strategy, identity, personal stories, conversations, and the messy, unfiltered parts of being a creative to help you build a brand that's impossible to ignore just by being exactly who you are. This is the Too Big to Fit podcast.
Today, I want to share with you a little pattern I caught myself doing and what I was telling myself that pattern actually was, when in reality it wasn't, and that was just a big old fat excuse, and why it was actually holding me back. So, let's go back, right? One thing y'all don't know, and I just recently found out, I am diagnosed officially with combination or combined type ADHD, or hyperactivity and impulsive type, and what is the other type? I can't even remember. And whatever the other type was, dang it, I can't remember. Anyway, I was just diagnosed for that. So it's hard for me to stay on track with things because I am such a creative person. I am such a visionary person, and I have such like a web train of thoughts, right? But that is part of my superpower, right? I can see the future because I see where you're wanting to go and I can see the path to get there. It's just organizing that path that's hard. So a lot of times whenever we know your priorities and what you're wanting to accomplish as a brand owner, as a business owner, knowing that will help us guide and create the path that's most aligned for you to get to where you want to go. So that's kind of what I do for my job, right? But outside of that, I like to say that I'm a pretty productive, efficient person. I do used to in the past do a lot of like operations management, and I still really like that, right? I love a good system. I love a good process. I love to help implement things. However, that can come at a detriment. So, for instance, I have this podcast, and whenever I had this idea for the podcast, I was like, okay, awesome, I'm going to do this podcast. It's going to be great. People are going to get to know me. So then I'm starting to type it all out. I am making the account, start the podcast, all that stuff. And I was like, well, I should just be documenting the journey of making the podcast because everything is content and I know how to make content. So why don't I just double team it and do both, right? So everything is content. I'm now trying to record. So from that, I was like, okay, now I'm recording this video, and I got down this rabbit hole of thinking, why have I not started this podcast yet? And a lot of it was because I was telling myself that my office wasn't nice enough, it wasn't ready, it just wasn't ready, and that I couldn't choose a wallpaper. But when in reality, I didn't want to pay for the wallpaper. That was the real thing. And that's what was preventing me from starting the podcast because it just wasn't ready, right? So now I was like, you know what? I'm going to overcome that right now because I can't afford the wallpaper. So I'm going to document me showing the journey of buying the wallpaper and talking through why I love this cheetah wallpaper and why I love this other one, and talk about why I didn't choose this one and I choose that other one. And as y'all can see, if you're watching the video version of this, I chose neither, and I still have a black wall. But now I'm making this video, screenshotting wallpapers on Amazon, adding overlays into the video instead of CapCut, and I was like, oh my god, Mackenzie, like, what are you actually doing? I realized that I was masking putting off starting the podcast as productivity because I was trying to be efficient, in air quotes. I was being efficient and productive, doing all of these things as I thought of them to ensure they got done and ensure I could have results and ensure I could be making progress. When in reality, it was actually derailing me from doing the thing that I needed to do, which was start the fucking podcast instead of the account. I want you to think about the times that you've maybe found yourself doing this and be like, wow, oh my god, do I do that? Like, actually, do I do that? And sit and reflect a little bit. Maybe pause this episode and sit and like think on that. Like, do you mask things as one thing when it's in reality doing something else? Are you saying something is productive and efficient when it's really just a distraction from what you're supposed to be doing? right? Or are you having all these ideas and you're not picking one because of some sort of underlying fear, right? If you need help with some of this is a big part of the work that I do, is uncovering all of that. But moving on from that, I got to thinking, I was like, okay, what if I just spent the time doing what I know how to do instead of researching and implementing things I have to learn how to do for the sake of productivity and automation? Like, I would get so much time back, right? Like, if I would just create a system, which I ended up doing, right, that worked with me and my brain and how I function, I could get so much done. So now what I've started doing is if I have an idea, I add it to a reminder on my phone, which is connected to my computer desktop. So anytime I add something on my phone, it goes straight to my computer and I can see it all listed out. So then I don't have to worry about losing the idea. I can come back to it later. So then it gives me the ability to stay focused on the one thing that I'm doing because I'm not going to lose the idea. And I've also started giving myself time and space to have that creative freedom because I know whenever I have an idea, whenever I'm taking inspired action, and that's one of my favorite things to do ever, I know that other ideas are going to come up and it's going to flow because I'm in a creative state. So I need somewhere for all of that to land. And if you're someone that gets overwhelmed with lists, this system could particularly maybe be scary for you. It's a little scary for me because like it's a lot of fucking words sometimes, but other times it's just like 3 words: newspaper, phone, tree, idea. We'd love to tell you all about that one, but it's a way that allows me to be supported because it's helping calm some of those fears, the fear of forgetting and the fear of not being productive and the fear of not doing the things I say that I want to do, right? It's solving all of that just by having a simple system, right? And a lot of times we mask systems and processes and we say we need to automate and have a process and a system. We always sometimes think that we need to have some sort of tech, right? Some sort of AI, especially now we're in the world of AI, right? When in reality, you just need a list or you need a series of steps that need to be taken after you do this one thing every time. So every time I write a blog, I know that I need to take that blog and condense it down and get a description for SEO. And then I need to take that description and map it into an email to send out to my email list. And then I need to take it and put it into a caption with a graphic to announce the blog. Right. I know that's my process. Those are some of the things I'm always going to do when there's a blog, right? That is a process, right? And then from there, it'll probably bleed into social media where I want to take 3 quotes from that blog and post them throughout the month, right? Show that thought leadership, right? That's how it can kind of expand and you just add on to the process. So then you just go through and click through them and you can get them done, right? That it's replicatable and repeatable. It's easy, right? That is kind of the point. And a lot of times now, especially in the time we live in with all the technology, everyone says you have to automate, you have to have systems, and they're trying to avoid doing the work. When in reality, that's what it takes. Like, it does take organization and time management and actual brute force to do a lot of these things. And a lot of times that's really hard, especially whenever you're hiding and you're masking behind something and you're saying, well, I don't have time, I don't have energy, I don't have the knowledge, or I have this other idea, and oh my God, these are great things too that I want to do. Now you're scrolling, right? So sit back and also reflect and think about, what if you just spent time doing the things that you know how to do instead of researching and implementing things that you don't know how to do? Trying to be more productive, trying to find a quick fix, trying to find the get rich quick scheme, right? Trying to find that missing piece when you already have everything that you need, right? You're actually going to save so much time doing that. So anyway, that was a perspective and a lesson that I learned that I'm sure someone can benefit from here. So I hope that was helpful, and I will see y'all on the next episode.